and garden expert Craig Hignight joining us live in studio to answer all of your burning questions. Good morning, Craig.
Morning. I'm hungry for hot dogs and brats right now.
Oh, for sure. Yes, can't come soon enough. Yeah. Well, let's get started here. Let's see. Can you fertilize your garden after you got everything out of it? Is that a good idea, or as it relates to the morning glories? What's the best thing to do?
Well, the morning glories, you should be working on getting rid of those. I would, if you've got morning glories there, put a little poison ivy spray on them to kill them off. That'll take the roots out too. As far as fertilizing, don't get too carried away. We're going to have a lot of rain and snow between now and next spring, and you're going to lose a lot of your nutrients. Maybe just adding organic matter, tilling in your leaves, and till them in. Don't lay them on top. Let Mother Nature work on them to break them down over the winter. Organic matter is always a good addition to the garden.
Vicki says that deer keep eating our roses despite spraying them and putting wire cages around them. What else can we do?
Well, I'm not going to say the word shotgun.
Oh.
But anyway, you're not using the right spray. Right now, I've got plenty of deer. I live next to a park. My plants got nailed the first day they were in the pot. Ever since then, they have been coated with a spray that has capsaicin in it. That's the hot stuff in peppers, and it has definitely kept the deer away for the rest of the season. Pat, if they're getting through wire, I don't know what else you can do.
Is it okay to let weeds grow under pine trees in the yard?
Well, usually weeds are not going to grow under pine trees because there's too much shade, but no, I wouldn't let them grow. I would go ahead and clear them out and then treat the area with preen to keep new seed from coming up. And preen can be put down this time of the year. We're not getting our spring weeds. We're getting our summer and fall weeds germinating right now. So preen can still be part of your arsenal this time of the year.
And this is a good question from my good friend Gina Ramos. I have a pear tree that's been in the ground since 2017 and it hasn't produced any pears. Do I need a second tree for it to pollinate with?
That's a possibility. Some pears do require a pollinator, although I'm surprised there are enough calorie pears in the Quad Cities that there should be more than enough pollen to go around. But yes, if you know the variety, check with an arborist or a nursery and see if this tree actually needs a pollinator. Some trees do.
Now, you let us know if this next question is your area. What app is safe enough to use for identifying a plant by pictures?
What's that?
An app that's safe enough to identify a plant by pictures?
Well, I've had a lot of people walk up and click, and I say, what are you using? And they're saying Google Lens. So I can't say for sure. I don't have it on my phone, but a lot of people seem to be using it.
Say Google, so yeah.
Okay.
Good old Google.
That's right.
Kelly's asking, what can I do to get rid of vine-boring bugs on my pumpkin plants?
Okay, you've got to get out there early. The first thing I would do is, a lot of people have told me that they actually cover the stem of all of their squash type plants with aluminum foil. And that's from the ground up to the first leaf, just a light aluminum foil. Those insects know where that plant is coming out of the ground, so you're blocking them from actually getting there. Other than that, using a pesticide like 7 on a regular basis when the plants are young, and make sure that you're getting it on the stem and under the leaves to be most effective.
All right, well, we're going to take a short break. Continue to send your questions in, and we will hopefully get those answered on the other side. Stay with us.
Garden expert Craig Hignight, who's answering your questions right now in our Facebook live stream. Devin, I think we left off with Susie before the break.
That's right. So this says, I've read both. You do cut back Russian sage in fall and you don't. Which for our zone?
Well, it really doesn't make a lot of difference. I was always of the mind that I left my perennial border the way it was, mainly because of beneficial insects that are in the litter that you leave behind over the winter. And I have friends that are absolutely compulsive, and their beds were absolutely clean before winter got here. Either way, the Russian sage is going to be fine, but if you're cleaning off in the fall, you could be damaging a lot of beneficial insects.
This is from Sandy. When you say not to spray weeds when it's over 80, does that mean you can spray it in the morning while it's still below 80 degrees?
No. Below 80 degrees has to occur for 5 days after you spray. By that time, the chemicals will be stabilized. Once you go above 80 degrees, some of the chemicals in the sprays volatilize and they move off and damage desirable plant material. So 5 days below 80 if you're using a herbicide.
This one say, when should I cut back my clematis? They are large and pink. They're getting overgrown.
They should be cut back every spring, and they should be cut back the first 2 years to 10 inches above the ground. That's going to force new growth to come up from the root system. Third year out, and for the rest of their lives, they get cut off at hip high. Each spring, usually about late March, early April.
Another clematis question. This is from Carol. My clematis is dying. It's turning black from the bottom up, and the flower buds have rotted off. It started doing that after I put an old bag of mulch on it. What's wrong?
Well, actually, that plant would rather have living plant material around it. Could be that you've gotten a leaf spot disease, and this is not uncommon with clematis. It's usually not deadly. But clematis, the old saying is, they want their head in the sun and their feet in the shade. So you really need some kind of plant material around the roots of the clematis to keep the roots cool during the summer, and mulch just doesn't really hack it.
My tomatoes are looking kind of bleak. Been in the same place for years. What can I add to enhance the soil and nutrients?
Well, it's that compost thing again. Add compost and keep your fingers crossed. By putting tomatoes in the same spot year after year after year, you're just courting disease to show up in that area. So when you finally clear off that area, when the tomatoes are done this year, add a goodly amount of compost, till it in this fall, and then next spring, add more compost, till it in, and don't get carried away with fertilizers. We can over-fertilize tomatoes. We always say we fertilize the soil, not the plant.
Dan says he's been growing long green beans and he likes to save some for planting next year. Says most are about 24 inches long, but there are some really long ones. Does a longer bean necessarily mean a better quality seed for replanting?
Well, it's like any seed saver. You always save absolutely the best fruit or vegetable you've got. So if you've got those monster beans and that's what you're looking for, yeah, that's the one I would let to go to full maturity and collect the seed for next year.
What should I use to get rid of weeds in my grass, like clover, crabgrass, and others?
Actually, I like the weed-free zone. And we're going back up into the 80s this next week, so it's not time yet. I always tell people, you've got to wait until at least Labor Day when you go back in and start spraying weeds in the fall. But remember, that 5-day rule. We've got to have 5 days below 80 degrees if you're putting on a liquid herbicide.
Rick says he found flea beetles in his tomato bed this year. They seem to prefer them ripe, so he's able to pick ahead of them. Should he treat the bed with something to kill any larvae after harvesting this year?
Well, there again, just clearing off the bed and tilling it up will disrupt any overwintering insects that are in that area. And hopefully the flea beetles won't come back next year. Maybe you should try spraying something like Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. Love that name. It's a biological, so it helps control insects, but it does not harm people, pets, whatever.
Oh, say that name one more time.
Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew.
All right. Why are my hostess turning yellow?
The what?
Why are my hostess turning yellow?
Oh, it's that time of the year. This time of the year, I don't expect any plant to look pristine. As a matter of fact, I was sitting out on the deck the other day and I noticed a few leaves starting to come out of the trees already. So, Mother Nature is starting to shorten the days. Well, someday she'll cool down the nights. So, the plants are getting ready for winter already.
All right. Well, thank you so much, as always, Craig, for
Thanks,
coming
Craig.
in. Yeah. And be sure to join our Facebook Live with Craig each and every Wednesday, where you can submit your questions and be part of the conversation. Well, here's a live look from our Bridgepoint camera in downtown Moline. GMQC at 11. We'll be right back.